How long has it been since you last ate? People who fast intermittently often eat within an 8-hour block, leaving 16 hours of fasting in between. During that 16-hour stretch, their bodies undergo an important change that sets them apart from non-fasters. Here's how it works. When you eat, you store some of that energy in the liver as glycogen. But after 10 to 12 hours of not eating, your glycogen reserves will be extremely low. As a result, you may feel more irritable than normal, a term scientists call hangry. The upside is, with little glycogen left, fat cells in your body release fats into your bloodstream. The fat cells head straight to your liver, where they're converted to energy for your body and brain. So you are literally burning fat to survive. Blood samples show that people who had fasted for 12 to 24 hours experienced a 60% increase in energy from fat, with the biggest change occurring after 18 hours. This is the benefit to intermittent fasting because it puts you in a state called ketosis. And it's why researchers think intermittent fasting could be the key to a longer, healthier life.
So not only are ketones normally found in healthy people, but it's been found that certain tissues actually prefer to use ketone bodies. In fact, as explained in the biochemistry textbook published by W.H. Freeman, fatty acids are the heart's main source of fuel, although ketone bodies, as well as lactate, can serve as fuel for heart muscle. In fact, heart muscle consumes acetoacetate, a ketone body, in preference to glucose.
In the brain, ketones trigger the release of an important molecule called BDNF. BDNF helps build and strengthen neurons and neural connections in areas of the brain responsible for learning and memory, which could explain why a boost in ketone production has been shown to improve memory in people with early signs of dementia in as soon as 6 weeks. Increasing ketones in the body is also a common treatment for patients with severe epilepsy.
It was for a long while thought that the brain could only run on glucose, carbohydrates. George Cahill and his group at Harvard Medical School demonstrated in 1967 that the brain can use ketone bodies as a source of energy. What he found was that during starvation, ketones are the predominant fuel of the peripheral tissues and the brain, with the brain deriving more than 2/3 of its energy from ketone bodies. Despite this, the body still requires some glucose, even when you aren't eating anything. For example, red blood cells can't run off of ketone bodies because they don't have any mitochondria to metabolize them with. But all of the body's glucose needs are met by the fact that the body can make its own glucose. For example, it can make glucose from the glycerol backbone of fat. For this reason, even during prolonged fasting, people will still keep a stable blood glucose level. A 1972 paper describes an ethically questionable study where overweight patients fasted for 2 months, putting them in deep ketosis, meaning they were producing a very large amount of ketone bodies. Insulin was then infused into these patients until their blood glucose went as low as 9 milligrams per deciliter, a level that should cause coma or death. However, the patients didn't really react to this. There was no particular change in cognition, nor did their body react to the drastic drop in blood sugar.
The only people in the room who had palpitations and sweating and anxiety were the physicians. The people who had the blood sugar levels that should be associated with coma or death were completely unfazed, had completely normal mentation. It is clear that the human brain is perfectly happy with beta-hydroxybutyrate as not just its majority fuel, but essentially its sole fuel.
This story starts with familiar energy sources. Everyone knows what carbohydrates and fats are, and we all rely on them for fuel. But there's an alternative, natural source of energy that athletes can tap into: ketones. Our bodies already naturally produce ketones, albeit at very minimal levels. Ketones kick in as a superfuel when the body is pushed to its limits. Ketone by human is the world's first 100% ketone ester.